Greetings, greetings, greetings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom, shalom. Greetings to all of the brothers and sisters who are regulars with the Imagination Show. Here we are once again. I feel very blessed and very honored and very privileged to once again have an opportunity to come to you, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, whoever you are, wherever you are, getting ready to get another episode of Imagination under our belts. Another episode of Imagination where we're going to be exploring, this week, we're going to be exploring part 2 of How to Eat to Live. Very, very powerful subject, very, very interesting subject, and a very, very timely subject in my humble opinion, because as a people, we're in a lot of trouble, man, as a result of illness. Thank you. As a result of illness, the kind of foods that we eat and whatever, we're really in deep trouble. And so, this subject matter is very, very timely, very, very important. And I'm very happy to have the opportunity to be blessed to have been exposed to such a wonderful teaching. And I want to share with you part 2, which is episode 17 of our Imagination shows and programs. And, we're just going to wait a little while to get a few people on. And we are going to start, like we did last week, by giving the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan the first word, in that, there is so much to do with this subject matter, how to eat to live, that has been shared over the years through the teachings of the Most Honourable Elijah Muhammad, that even when contemplating taking up this subject, there's so many different angles and ways that one could come at it. And so I hope that the way in which I've chosen to address it will be of benefit to those of you who are watching, because the whole idea, the whole point of these shows is really educational. The idea is to help us to understand things that we can then implement in our lives, that can help us to improve our lives. In the Nation of Islam, which I am proud to say I am a member of, and has been a member of for many, many years, one of our first lessons, and one of the most important lessons that we study, is entitled Self-Improvement, the Basis for Community Development. And, really what that means, family, what that means, brothers and sisters, is that we can spend as much time as we like pointing fingers outwards at problems and difficulties that we see in the world, or even in other people, in other individuals. But in truth, if we really want to change the world and make the world a better place, it's not so much about pointing at the world or pointing at other people. It's really about introspection and looking at self and making a determination to fix or to change self, to transform self. And the reality is that if I change, really the world changes. It doesn't mean that I change the entire globe, but what it means is that there are people that know me, people who are in my circle, people that I ultimately might be able to influence through my change. And as a result of me setting an example by my change, somebody else may follow suit and make that change. But we can, try to force people into changing who they are for the better. But that doesn't really work, brothers and sisters. The only person that we really have the ability to 100% change is self. And so, that's the purpose of these meetings, these programs, these shows, is to influence the brothers and sisters, the members of the public, the members of the human family who desire to learn something that ultimately can help us to make a change, to make a transformation. And so, you know, as I always say, I feel so blessed to be in a position where God has given me something to share, something to say. And so, you know, I do believe in the kind of admonition that we're given in the Nation of Islam as Muslims generally, that if we are genuinely a Muslim, if we are genuinely a brother or a sister, then a true brother, a true sister wants for another brother and sister what they want for themselves. We're not really being true to that idea of brotherhood and sisterhood if we become individualistic, if we become selfish, if we become the kind of people who know something that potentially can be of benefit to somebody else and we won't share it. Dear family, we have a responsibility. And in the Nation of Islam, we're taught that the civilized man has a duty to the uncivilized. And that just means that, you know, if we understand how black people in the Western world have been fighting for civil rights, do you know what that means, family? When we literally were fighting and begging white people to just treat us in a civil manner, because the behavior towards us was so uncivilized that it became what they call civil rights that the people were fighting for, when in reality, in truth, it wasn't even civil rights. It should have been all the time. It should have been human rights in terms of the God-given rights that each of us is given from the womb of our mothers. But nonetheless, you know, that's all civilization really means. It means literally to be civil to other people, to be fair dealing to other people. In the Nation of Islam, you know, because sometimes when we say Muslim, I know a lot of our people, we kind of get, we recoil from that because it, you know, we think it's to do with Arabs, or we think it's to do with Indians or Pakistanis or whatever. No, dear family, you know, Islam means peace, and it's the very nature of the black man and the black woman. That's just who we are naturally. And if you want to know what my religion is, our religion is, it literally is that oft repeated saying that a lot of the times Christians say, but they say it, but do they actually live it? Do they actually carry it out? I don't think so. But what they say is, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Think about that, family. You know, we want to be treated with respect and dignity, so you know, we gotta treat people with respect and dignity. We don't want people robbing and stealing from us. Why are we robbing and stealing from somebody else? We don't want somebody coveting our goods or trying to steal away our property. Then why are we doing that to others, and so on and so forth? If everybody lived by that simple principle of doing unto others what we would have been done unto ourselves, the world would be a very, very beautiful place. And so, without further ado, we're going to just hear a very short excerpt, and if you are around at the very end of tonight's program, we'll play a little bit more of this particular lecture from the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan dealing with how to eat to live. So at this time, we're just going to have a little excerpt from it, and then we will go further into our program.
The last thing I want to talk about tonight. What time is it, brother? 9:20. Oh, yeah, this is the last thing. The messenger taught us not to eat any beans except the small navy bean. And when you learn how to use that navy bean, you should take a little money and go and stock your house with 100 pounds of these little navy beans. If you can afford a couple of 100 pounds, they can stay a long time. They don't mess up. That navy bean is full of protein, the right amount of fat and starch. And the messenger said, if you strain it well without a lot of spices, you feed that to your babies, and your babies will grow to live for 240 years with just being that navy bean. I close by saying this, brothers and sisters, if you doubt that God came to give us abundant life, I'd like you to look at the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad who are trying to follow him and compare us with people all over the world who follow Moses, Prophet Muhammad, Jesus, Buddha. We look different than all the followers of any prophet who ever lived. Not only different, we look better. Yes, sir. Why? Because we've been taught wrong. We've been taught how to eat, to live.
Okay, family. That was really just to kick us off, get us started this evening. And, you know, last week we began with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaching on the enemy's plan to depopulate the planet by 2 to 3 billion people through the government's Global 2000 policy and the weaponization of food, family, codified in the National Security Memorandum authored by, among others, Henry Kissinger in the administration of President Jimmy Carter. Those of you who can remember Jimmy Carter, you know, the peanut farmer. But in his regime, in his government, you know, even at that time, they were planning some diabolical things against black people. Food, water, air, and all the seeds needed to grow crops would be monopolized and compromised by multinational companies like Monsanto, the minister mentioned them last week, and DuPont, to the health detriment of the members of the human family. This is the reality, dear family, of what has been planned and is continuing to be rolled out on our planet. And, you know, whether we see, most of us now, I think most people in the world have kind of like fallen for this thing where when you talk about the reality of the nefarious behavior of governments and multinational companies and international bankers, you know, many of us now, conspiracy theory. And it just makes me smile because, you see, whether we really appreciate it or not, we've so fallen for the narrative of the enslavers. And so people are unable to literally free themselves because you think that this thing is just too diabolical, it's too unreal to be true. But I'm saying to you, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, dear family, you know, fact is more often than not stranger than fiction. And the world that we live in and the world that has been depicted to us really and truly is not the world that we actually think it is. And we have to, as a people, really begin to open our eyes and begin to look at the world for what it really is if we're going to survive as we go deeper into the 21st century. Beloved family, it is critically important that we recognize that those wicked governments' plans have long ago been fully implemented and are today in full effect, ill-effecting and hospitalizing and killing millions of unsuspecting people around the globe. See, millions of people die on the planet every day, just like millions of babies are born on the planet every day. But those people who are dying, you know, you got people who may die in road accidents, you got people who die from all manner of different things, people dying from old age. There's a lot of natural death. Death accompanies life. Death is a part of life. Before you and I got here, hundreds of billions of human beings were here before us, and they've now gone back into the earth, gone back into the soil from whence we all sprang, from where all of the vegetarian, all of the fauna and flora came from in the first place. This is the recycling process that Almighty God Allah put in place as the creator of the heavens and the earth. But make no mistake about it, dear family. In fact, I think it was just today that Joe Biden made an announcement in America that they had killed the head of ISIS. And along with killing the head of ISIS, I think it was one of those drone strikes again where they target particular individuals who they say are terrorists on the planet. I don't know whether this person is a genuine terrorist or not. I don't know whether he was the head of ISIS. What I do know is that in killing him, they killed several other innocent people, including women and children, which is the normal course of action, the normal course of events. And so my point is that as well as all of the natural deaths that occur on our planet, brothers and sisters, there's so many deaths that are completely unnatural. And worse than that, these are murders that have been carried out through stealthy means, through all manner of things. And in terms of our subject matter, while we're dealing with how to eat to live, well, the reality is that many of these deaths are occurring based on what we are literally putting into our bodies. I'll continue reading this particular slide. Also, even more important is to realize that when the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote How to Eat to Live, books 1 and 2, in the 60s and 70s, the food, water, and air was becoming contaminated because of accidental and deliberate interference by the enemy. But today, family, in 2022, the poisoning, corruption, and damage to those three essential elements of life on our planet is 1,000-fold. I mean, how it was then in the 60s and 70s compared to what it is now, it's gone on to a whole different level. And there's a reason why I'm really emphasizing that as well, based on, you know, the kind of direction that I want to take with this program on how to eat to live. But it's just important to appreciate that when the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote those monumental books of how to eat to live, things were bad then in terms of the food that was available to us and the kind of contaminants and pollution and so on and so forth that people was dealing with. But now in 2022, it is 1,000 times worse, dear family. This is the point I'm really trying to emphasize, because, you know, a lot of the sickness and a lot of the problems that we have today, I do not believe that we really have to suffer as much as we do. You know, for instance, that video, like I said, I'll play some more of that video at the end, inshallah, God willing. But I think when that video was made, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan would have been in his 60s already. You're looking at a man that looks so fresh and so young because of how to eat to live. And how to eat to live is not just for registered members of the Nation of Islam. How to eat to live is for every member of the human family who desires to live. Today, there is no such thing, dear family, as pure food. Instead, we are confronted by pesticides, herbicides, toxins, and deadly heavy metals in our food like mercury and lead, and all manner of solvents and unknown chemicals. Before going further, I want to give thanks and credit to the How to Eat to Live essential companion. This is what I wanted to introduce to you because, some people have done some tremendous research, people who are in the Nation of Islam, and I don't want to give the impression that, some of the things that I'm sharing or saying is all from me. No, dear family. I want to give credit to the How to Eat to Live essential companion, a holistic, comprehensive how-to guide for cures they don't want you to know, compiled by Nazir, Makri Akim and Rose Akim, and published by Secretarius MEMS Publications. I did find the above book extremely valuable in researching for this particular subject matter, How to Eat to Live. I'm so into How to Eat to Live. Let me explain something. I'm so into it and I love it so much, and it's such an integral part of my life and the life of my family that if I wanted to do this show and the next show and the next show and the next show, all on that, I could just come and talk and just wing it because I have that love and that interest in the subject matter that I could just talk about it because I'm that much into it. But nonetheless, I don't really, and I didn't want to just do that. I still wanted to do some research and really look into what other people are saying and what other angle that one might take to approach the subject that would make it more interesting for those who are watching or listening in, that you could actually make use of the information and benefit yourself. Hence why I'm mentioning the Holistic Companion book, because it's very, very important. Now, How to Eat to Live books 1 and 2 are two of the easiest and simplest books to comprehend that I've ever read in my life. The message and guidance contained within is clear-cut, direct, and without ambiguity. Okay, it's not confusing. Yet, I would strongly recommend the Holistic Companion for the modern reader who wants an even more comprehensive understanding of the science and medical facts surrounding today's foods and really how they potentially are affecting us. And it's not just foods, but it's other things as well, which is where How to Eat to Live becomes very, very important. So this is what the companion looks like. The How to Eat to Live Holistic Companion. And if you get that, that potentially could be very helpful in giving you a good understanding of the type of things that you could be looking out for when it comes to, the reasons why we should be employing How to Eat to Live in our lives. I will post the ISBN numbers for the book in the chat before we finish this evening, or you can write them down while you are here. Okay, family? So, please have a look there. You can see the ISBN numbers. One of them is 978-1-884855-66-5. ISBN 1-884855-166-0. Okay, so if you got those numbers, you could always find the books online, find them wherever they're stocked, in whatever bookshops. You may be able to get it on Amazon or whatever, but NOI.org is the place to go as well to really, or the Final Call building, Final Call newspaper. I'm sure that there are several outlets that would have the companion, of course, and as well as How to Eat to Live book 1 and 2. In How to Eat to Live, we are warned, and just before I go into that, just to say that next week is when we're going to really get into the books and really the instructions and, what the science and the power. Right now, all we're really doing still, like last week, is really trying to demonstrate the reality of what we face and the problems of ill health that really must be addressed if we're gonna survive, dear family. Because it's not just a case of, like some people, I don't know, they're into diets and whatever. I'm gonna lose some weight. This is so much more than just a diet or a fad or something of that nature. This is really, in my humble opinion, really so much more about life and death. And so I hope you take this with the gravity and the seriousness in which I'm trying to approach it. In How to Eat to Live, we are warned not to use aluminium pots for cooking, but to use stainless steel pots instead. What follows is a brief excerpt from pages 24 and 25 of that companion book that we mentioned. It says, even though aluminium is not considered to be a heavy metal like lead, it can be toxic in excessive amounts and even in small amounts if it is deposited in the brain, dear family. Many of the symptoms of aluminium toxicity mimics those of Alzheimer's disease and osteoporosis, colic, rickets, gastrointestinal problems, interference with the metabolism of calcium. This allows you to really metabolize calcium, calcium that you get in the milk or whatever for your bones and your teeth and your hair and whatever. It produces, this is what aluminium does, extreme nervousness. This is serious stuff. Anemia, headaches. It decreases liver and kidney function, causes memory loss, speech problems, softening of your bones, and aching muscles can all be caused by aluminium toxicity. Aluminium is excreted by the kidneys, therefore toxic amounts can impair kidney function. Aluminium can also accumulate in the brain, causing seizures and reduced mental alertness. The brain is normally protected by a blood-brain barrier which filters the blood before it reaches it. Elemental aluminium does not pass easily through this barrier, but certain compounds contained within aluminium, such as aluminium fluoride, do. Okay? Now, I just want you to think about this. We don't use aluminium pots and pans or whatever, because what this is saying is that aluminium is a very, very dangerous material to cook and to have your utensils in, because elements of the aluminium gets into the food and it really, really does damage to the brain. Interestingly, many municipal water supplies are treated with both aluminium sulfate and aluminium fluoride. These two chemicals can also combine easily in the blood. Aluminium fluoride is also poorly excreted in the urine, so it's actually very difficult to get rid of it once it's within your system. But just think about this, family. Many, many years ago, I was watching a documentary, and basically what they were doing in this documentary was exposing the fact that the water companies were putting aluminium into the water. Aluminium is dangerous. Aluminium is a poison. It's something that does all of those things that have just been mentioned to the brain. And I remember this executive of the water company being asked in the documentary, why do you put the aluminium in the water? And as God is my witness, the man replied, to make the water more shiny. And I put this image up here just to show you the kind of thing that we can find on our planet in terms of the exquisite beauty of nature and water, and how water, like spring water passing through rocks, and how beautiful that water is and how clean that water is. But here you got a man who thinks that he can improve on God's design, and so he's going to now put a metallic element into the water to make it look better, to make it more shiny. Knowing, because these are scientists, okay? And they're scientists, many of these are scientists of death, okay? Aluminium fluoride. Do you know fluoride is a very dangerous element, chemical that's found in many of the water systems that we're supposed to drink from? Brothers and sisters. You know, the other thing that always goes through my mind when I'm doing this is that, believe me, even when we're finished, and we will be finished next week, inshallah, God willing, we will only have scratched the surface of some of the elements to this that we're going to talk about tonight. On page 27 of the companion book to Out to Eat to Live, it says in part, autopsies on large amounts of people who have died of Alzheimer's disease showed accumulations of up to 4 times the normal amount of aluminium in the nerve cells in the brain, especially in the hippocampus, which plays a central role in memory. I think it's a part of the brain which is near the front, and it's called the hippocampus, and it plays a central role in memory. And up to 4 times the normal amount of aluminium has been found in those who the autopsies have been performed on, who died from Alzheimer's, beloved. As mentioned above, all aluminium cookware and tableware should be avoided. Now, some of you watching this, you will have aluminium pots in your kitchen right now. What should you do, family? Are you going to really tell me that, it's too expensive to change all my cookware and everything? We're talking about your life here. We're talking about the health of your family. We're talking about, getting to old age and not having your brain so deteriorated that now you've been diagnosed as suffering from Alzheimer's disease or any of these other diseases like dementia and these things, which again, we attribute these things to, the person is 65 or the person is 72 or the person is... Look, family, we are not naturally supposed to decline like that in our brain capacity just because of age. And when you see people in these conditions, it's not because of age. It is because of something that has been ingested, something that has gone into the beautiful design system by God, which has contaminated that system and caused it now to break down. Dear family, antacids, which are medicines that counteract or neutralize the acid in your stomach to relieve indigestion and heartburn. I mean, as Caribbean people, what did our people used to drink? Milk of magnesia and things like that. That's like an antacid. What's it called? Peptide. Yeah, things, it's like milk type, based things, these are antacids, which are medicines that counteract or neutralize the acid in your stomach to relieve indigestion and heartburn. They normally come in liquid form or chewable tablets and can be bought from pharmacies and shops without a prescription. Now, but according to the companion, many name brand antacids contain aluminium hydroxide. I mean, see, I hope you understand what I'm trying to do here. I'm really trying to show you how, things that we just take for granted, that we take and we use, but we don't understand that it's billed as something designed to help us to settle our stomach or whatever, but they put aluminium in it, beloved. What the hell is aluminium hydroxide? What is that? What is aluminium fluoride? What is that? Anti-diarrheal products. This is products to stop you from having diarrhea or to clean up your diarrhea. Products contain aluminium salts. Buffered aspirin can contain up to 14.4 to 88 milligrams of aluminium hydroxide or aluminium glycinate. And again, I don't know what these different elements of chemicals are, but make no mistake about it, the scientists who have done the research, they understand that these are the types of things which are in these products. And we need to know, dear family, that we can't just take it for granted that what people give us is going to be of benefit to us. We have to become much more diligent when it comes to what we allow to enter into our systems. Ordinary aspirin, this says, is aluminium free, as are many other painkillers. The key is to carefully read all labels and ingredients. This is, I mean, that can't even be emphasized enough. But you'd be surprised how we just pick things up now. We don't read the labels. We're not interested in the ingredients. Again, like I said, I've got this philosophy where I'm really trying in my life not to put anything into my mouth that I can't pronounce, that I can't say. I don't know what that is. What is that? I have to go and Google and go and do a whole bunch of research to find out what this E number is or whatever. No, man, I'd rather just leave that out of my system altogether. Aluminium coated waxed containers. Now, I hope you all know what these are. Used especially for orange, pineapple and other juices, and causes the juices to absorb aluminium. Beer and soft drinks in aluminium cans also absorb small quantities of aluminium. Now those cartons that they're talking about, you know, those juice cartons that we buy, if you tear one of them open, you'll find it's like a waxed kind of coating that they have on the inside. Well, what this is telling us is that part of that wax coating is aluminium. It's aluminium coated. That's why it looks like metal. It's kind of silver inside of the box. That's aluminium, dear family. And according to this, it contaminates the juices that we are drinking. Many deodorants and antiperspirants and even some skin powders, you know, there's a big scandal about, was it Johnson's baby powder? The talcum powder, aluminium, dear family, aluminium. This is stuff that, see, as a Jamaican, I remember it's like in Jamaica, it's like hardly anybody went out without, I mean, women I know did it. They put it on the little babies' bottoms and everything when they're changing their nappies. But, you know, people were always using this thing underneath their arms and in different parts of their bodies or whatever to, I don't know, to keep them dry on the chest, you know, because it's a hot country or whatever. And then this big scandal over the fact that it contains contaminants. Many deodorants and antiperspirants and even some skin powders contain aluminium chlorohydrate. I struggle with some of these words. Aluminium in this form is more readily absorbed in the brain via the nasal passages. Because again, see, you're putting it on your hands and then you put it on your arm or whatever. But those of you who have used those types of powders, the talcum powder, don't you smell it every time? Hasn't it got a particular, because they perfume it as well. So hasn't it got a particular smell? Well, you may not be able to see it, but some of it is going into your nasal passages. And, you know, what this is saying is that it can create a problem for you when you breathe this stuff up. Many popular douches products contain aluminium salts, while a homemade version of vinegar and water could be used. I hope you're all familiar with what a douche is. It's generally, I think it's used by women to clean, you know, that area, their private parts or whatever. But again, it's saying that many of these douches that are on the market, in the marketplace, not what you can make for yourself and use yourself with the vinegar and the water or whatever, contain aluminium salts, whatever that is. Cake mixes, frozen doughs, self-raising flour, sliced processed cheese, food, all contained from 5 to 50 milligrams of sodium aluminium. Now that's another form of aluminium, sodium aluminium, which I think also they put in salt, white salt, table salt, phosphates per average serving, baking powder as 5 to 70 milligrams of sodium aluminium sulfate per teaspoon. My God. Family, I hope you're all good, and I hope that, you will appreciate that we have to do something about our health condition, because it's a real crisis in the black community. When this COVID thing first hit, if you remember, they started talking about black people are going to be the worst hit in America and in the UK, in the inner cities, whatever, because we got comorbidities, because we're going to be affected because we're that much poorer and we're that much more deprived. And see, brothers and sisters, we're so set up, and we're given this narrative which, if you're not careful, if you accept it, then you kind of accept I remember a famous movie, I don't know how many of you can remember, Fist of Fury, Bruce Lee. That's one of my favorite films of all time. As a youngster, I used to go and watch that, and I watched it so many times. But in that, there was a line in that movie where the Japanese referred to the Chinese, because it's a Japanese-Chinese rivalry. Bruce Lee was Chinese, and their Chinese martial arts school was coming under attack by the Japanese martial arts school. And at some point, something was delivered to them as a kind of insult, and what it said, I think, was "sick man of Asia." Look, family, what's been said to us is that we're the sick man, sick woman of the planet Earth. Okay? And we've got to get out from underneath that label, man. We are really not those people. We are some of the most healthy people on this planet, and we can be that and then some if we would only take charge. Okay? In How to Eat to Live, there's a line in there that, it's not really, I didn't want to go into it this week, but I'm just kind of like preempting it for next week, where the messenger says that we're digging our grave with our teeth. And I know that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has said on many occasions how we must take our mouth out of the white man's kitchen. Because, I don't know, man, when I see us queuing up at McNasty's, I call it McNasty, I don't call it McDonald's. McNasty's or Kentucky, you call it Kentucky. Or Burger Kill. I mean, dear family, do we know the ingredients? As the minister started last week asking, do we know what they're putting into these foods that they're frying up for us, and that we're gleefully going in and ordering and then running down the road to eat it while we're walking and we're on the move? Man, oh man. Starch modifiers, dear family, and anti-caking agents also contain varying levels of aluminium compounds. The processed cheese used on cheeseburgers at fast food restaurants also contain aluminium, which is added to make the cheese melt better. My God. I mean, just think about that. They're adding aluminium to cheese because the aluminium makes the cheese melt better. Sounds like trying to make water more shiny. See, if it was innocent, if it was something that wasn't going to do harm to the consumer, then yeah, fine. But family, a number of anti-dandruff preparations contain magnesium aluminium silicate or silcate. Family, watch your labels carefully for aluminium lauryl sulfate, which is a common ingredient in many popular shampoo products. I'll put the picture of the brother there in the shower, because again, you're innocently going to get your shower. I saw the other day there's like a carbolic soap that's been banned from this country. They can't use it here because it's got mercury in it. But where do they ship it to? Africa. And our people are out on the continent, the motherland, using that type of thing on their skins. And then we wonder why we got all of these skin problems, irritations and issues or whatever, because poison and contaminants. We're washing our hair, we're shampooing, whatever, but the shampoo contains aluminium lauryl sulfate, dear family. We must appreciate what's going on our planet, what's going on, and why God came, and why God revealed what he revealed to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and why the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has spent the last 65 years trying to wake black people up all over the globe in order that we might save our own lives. Because there is going to be no magic where abracadabra we're saved. We have to take charge of our own salvation, dear family. There are a multitude of substances that human beings come into contact within our modern world, in our food, drinks, clothes, cosmetics, commercial business, and social interactions, in a never-ending cycle of births and deaths. But with very few of us ever really stopping to take a close and analytical look at how these many and varied substances benefit or harm us. This is real. Every day we're coming into contact with things which potentially are very harmful, but how many of us are really analyzing exactly what we're using, exactly what we are coming into contact with, and is it beneficial or is it harmful? So far, dear family, this evening, all we have done is to take a cursory look at aluminium as a small example of why how to eat to live should be a necessary part of every human being's knowledge base for life, and life in more abundance. You know, we could look at so many different things, but I chose aluminium because it's almost innocuous. And you know, when you see these nice shiny pans, aluminium, the nice lightweight pans or whatever, I mean, how many people are cooking with their aluminium utensils and, you know, pans, and even thinking that there's any particular danger lurking there? No, I doubt very much if many people think about it, but we ought to be thinking about it, and we ought to be making changes, dear family, to our practices, because unfortunately these practices hurt us. These practices cause us injuries. These practices ultimately can be life-threatening. And there's so much more. Petroleum and all of its harmful byproducts. You know, again, I remember it wasn't that long ago that they were telling people to buy diesel cars because diesel was better. Now they've done a complete, 180? They say 180 or 360. And now they're telling people to get rid of their diesel cars by a certain date because they're going to be completely phased out, because they've now discovered that they're really the danger vehicle in terms of pollution, in terms of congestion, in terms of, you know, the toxic exhaust fumes that come from either diesel or petrol, because now everybody's basically trying to move toward electric, because they're saying that both these vehicles that use fossil fuels are detrimental to health. Petroleum and all of its harmful byproducts, so-called fossil fuels, chemicalized hair and skin products. I mean, I could stop at almost every one of these and talk, you know, because, again, a lot of sisters know about these things because of the damage that they've experienced in putting these chemicals into their hair. And again, often again, even, okay, we'll focus on the fact that it damaged our hair. But do we appreciate that the chemical is soaking into the brain capacity and what that is doing? Because that's even more serious than the surface hair that's been damaged. What's happening within the body? What's happening within the skull? What's happening within the brain, which these chemicals soak into, dear family? Perfumes with unknown or hidden ingredients. Do you know that most perfume manufacturers don't have to say what the ingredients are, because it's regarded as trade secrets? Because, you know, the idea is that nobody's supposed to be able to copy their fragrance. And so there's a lot of perfumes out there where you will know the basic natural oils or elements that they've used to get that, but then there's other things, other chemicals that are put in there that not mentioned, dear family. Perfumes with unknown or hidden ingredients, conditioners, antifreeze that we put in our cars, soaps I mentioned before, toothpaste. How many of us appreciate some of the things that they put, you know, fluoride in the toothpaste? Mash up your teeth, beloved. Fluoride does not protect your teeth, okay? They put pork in the toothpaste. I mean, it's just never ending. Laundry detergent. This is, I'm naming things which contain aluminium in one form or another. Paints, lotions, cleansers, toners, etc. Bear in mind that the skin absorbs up to 60% of the chemicals in products that it has contact with directly into the bloodstream. Okay, the skin is a breathing organ. It's the biggest organ, okay, that covers our whole body. Whatever you put onto the skin is absorbed into the skin and goes in and through, and then ultimately ends up in our bloodstream. Today, hormone therapy treatments and smoking cessation medications are often prescribed as patches that you apply directly to the skin. The medication passes through the skin and directly enters the bloodstream. These patches that you see people putting on. But what is that doing? What is it doing, dear family? I remember a few years ago they brought out, what was it, Norplant? Where they were putting the thing underneath, the contraception underneath the children's arm. When I say children, young girls. And I think they were even doing it without the parents' knowledge in schools, giving the children this Norplant under their skin, in their arms. And this thing was so powerful that it was supposed to be able to last for years, stopping them from, how many? 5 years, stopping them from getting pregnant. Look, if they're going to give you a drug under your skin that has the ability to last for 5 years and stop you becoming pregnant, brothers and sisters, do we have any idea of the kind of powerful poison that is being inserted into our bodies that's going to be leaching and leaking out for 5 years to prevent pregnancy, to terminate your pregnancy? My God. But these are the things that we unfortunately expose ourselves to because we trust an enemy who we have no right trusting. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 23, verse 3, it says, "Be not desirous of his dainties, for they are deceitful meat." See, man, I wish, I'm not going to spend too much time breaking these things down, but just suffice to say it like this, dear family. See, there's dainty meats, there's dainty food, but what the scripture is warning you is not to be desirous of these dainties, for they are deceitful meat. Okay? It's made to look pretty, it's made to look good, it's made to attract you. There's a story in the Bible, in the book of Daniel, I believe, where Daniel and Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego are offered to eat the king's meat, but they refuse. And they take the pulses, they take the natural food that they're used to eating, but they won't eat the king's meat because they were not tempted. Daniel was not tempted to go down that road because he knew that he was dealing with an enemy. But how many of us know that we're dealing with an enemy when we get tempted into these dainties? If you go to the same chapter 23, but verse 6, that says, eat thou not the bread of him that hath an evil eye, neither desire thou his dainty meats. My God. Do you know what it means to have an evil eye? See, brothers and sisters, you see things. Do you remember the end of the O.J. Simpson trial? Do you remember the great divide that occurred? I mean, I'm not talking about those black people who said O.J. was guilty. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the majority of black people who cheered when that black man was able to walk away from that court having been found not guilty. But the vast majority of white people watching that same trial, they were absolutely livid. It created such a divide along racial lines where they wanted him to be found guilty, and they were convinced even before the trial started that he was the perpetrator of those two murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and, what was his name? Ron Goldman, I believe it was. My point is this, dear family. Talking about an evil eye is talking about the way you see things, your point of view, your orientation, your leaning, your tendency. Eat thou not of the bread of him that has an evil eye, neither desire thou his dainty meats. Really telling you, man, stay away from these people because they see things a particular way. And it's not the way, because I hope, dear family, that you're not viewing the world from an evil perspective. Okay, there are many people that would accuse somebody like me of hate, and I'm a hate teacher, and I'm a wicked person. When I go to my bed at night, I assure you, I sleep very, very well. I don't have guilt pangs. I don't, oh my God, I'm such a terrible person. No, dear family, when I look in the mirror, I like the reflection that I see, because I know who I am. And I know that my purpose in life is to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And in truth and reality, with all the evil that's been heaped upon me and my people, I don't even have a desire to do that evil back. I leave that to God. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. And I'm a believer in the Lord, not no spook God, but a real live God who I believe is right near the end of his patience with a world like this, where aluminium is put into water to make it shiny, where aluminium is put into cheese to make it melt better. Genesis chapter 27 verse 7 says, bring me venison. Do you know what venison is? You know what kind of meat that is? Is it deer meat? Deer meat. Yeah. How many of you have eaten deer meat? Go on, black people. Put it in the chat if you've put it in the chat if you dare to tell me that you've eaten venison. See, some of us, we've tried escargots, haven't we? I haven't, but when I say we, because I never want to leave myself out of it, even though I know nothing like that could ever go anywhere near my mouth. But snails, escargots, it's the French. But my point is, dear family, you got people now eating chocolate-coated ants. People will eat anything the expensive, beautiful lobster that we like to eat, it's a sea scavenger. It's like a sea spider. Crabs as well. I've eaten crab. I used to eat crab when I was in Jamaica. But I've learned better now that it's a sea spider. It's vermin. It's a scavenger on the bottom of the ocean bed. We should not consume it, dear family. Fish like catfish that got that sucking mouth that just goes and scrapes up all of the filth. We shouldn't consume that. Next week we'll go into the swine when we go into how to eat to live proper. But suffice to say, dear family, you know, venison, why are we eating deer, man? Why? Why you want to go and eat the poor deer? And, you know, these wild creatures. People eating crocodile, they're cooking the crocodile on the stove, my God. See, they just eat anything. And we can't be like that. Genesis chapter 27 verse 7 says, "Bring me venison and make me savory meat, that I may eat and bless thee before the Lord before my death." You see, that meal is coupled with death. Okay, that's the point. That scripture, it's like that. It's like that. That saying, "Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die." Okay, so this is the mentality. Okay, this is, you know, a death meal. You know that this is really not for human consumption. It's not something, you know, this delicacy that we are anchoring towards. We want some venison. We want some. What's that bird that they hang up until it begins to rot? Until they hang the bird up until maggots begin to come into the flesh. Pheasant. Yeah. They kill it. They shoot it. Then they hang it over a door, and they let it hang there till the flesh begins to rot and maggots come into it. That's when it's ready to be cooked and eaten. Can I have a steak, please? Rare. Because they want the blood. Did you know, family, that you should never consume the blood of any creature? And that's why as Muslims, when they slaughter the creatures that they're going to eat, the meat that they're going to eat, they have to hang it and allow all the blood to drain out before, and I think the Jews may do it similar as well, before they consume that meat. But here you got a people who are ordering the steak specifically because they want the blood in it, make it rare, hardly cooked. My God. In the book of Genesis, chapter 27, verse 4, it says, "And make me savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul may be blessed thee before I die." Again, you know, dear family, I'm not making anything up. This is in your Bible. And it's the food is coupled with death, okay? It's really about people who want to eat, drink, and be merry before they die. It's about consuming as much alcohol as you can. It's about debauchery, maybe having sexual relations with a strange person that you don't know or whatever, because this is your last fling. This is your going out party, so to speak. And it's pretty sad. And what I'm saying is that as the people of God, which is really who we are, that's our true identity, we ought not to be following these trends, because what they represent is death. Last week, if you remember, we began by quoting the scripture, "There is a way that seems right unto a man, but the ends thereof are the ways of death." And this world, it's not a lifestyle, it is in fact a death style. And, you know, many of the terms and phrases and words that are used. You know, like you hear black people complaining about people saying blackmail, blackballed, blacklisted, a black day. These things are not by accident. These things were designed to put you off black, because black is actually very, very powerful. Black is the source of everything. Black is the universal order. My favorite image, if you notice, all my presentations got that black universal background, because I love it, dear family. Okay, this is the triple darkness without the stars, from whence everything emerges. But when you hear all these negative terms attached to black, that was designed to make you run a mile from black, reject black, while they drive in their black limousines, which is a sign of power, while they wear their black robes as judges, because it's a sign of power, while they wear their black robes as the professors and the graduates and so on and so forth, because they understand the power of black. But they want you to reject black, not realizing that black in and of itself is something very, very beautiful and something powerful, not negative at all. But in this world, death and food have become synonymous with terms like "I'm dying to eat." Just think about the language that we use. Food you could die for. You're dead meat. Food poisoning. Perishable food. Perish the thought. Worm food. You know, somebody's been buried, they say, oh, that person is now worm food. Turkeys looking forward to Christmas. Oh, just, I mean, I'm sure you've all heard that saying. You know, how can I put it into context? Black people got excited when it looked like Hillary Clinton was about to win the election that she ran against Donald Trump in 2016. I think that was when they ran that one. And that was a classic example of black people being excited that Hillary might win the election. Oh my God, you know, sometimes I do despair about us, because you see, dear family, and that doesn't mean that I'm some lover of Trump, but let me tell you something, the way I see life. I love my enemy who is upfront about being my enemy. I don't want no enemy hugging me up and telling me how much they love me, when in reality they hate my guts and they want to see me dead. That's a far more dangerous enemy than an enemy who will just shoot from the hip and say it like it is. I like that kind of enemy. And so black people getting excited over the potential Hillary, and apparently she looks like she may be trying to get herself geared up to run again in 2024. So those of you Hillary lovers, you might get a second bite of the cherry. But black people looking forward to a Clinton coming into office, bearing in mind that Bill was the architect of that legislation in America that caused hundreds of thousands of black men to go to prison under that provision of 3 strikes and you're out. So people were getting put away for just a mere theft, but because it was their 3rd strike, they're basically getting life in prison. And hundreds of thousands of black families were destroyed, decimated under Clinton. And black people love Clinton because he came into office playing a saxophone and wearing dark glasses. And we thought, oh man, he's so cool, he's like a black man. We're, you know, turkeys looking forward to Christmas. And if I need to break it down? Turkeys die at Christmas, okay? So why would you as a turkey be looking forward to Christmas? Bite the dust. Bite, food, death. Bought the farm where the food comes from. But they use that to describe death. Oh, he's bought the farm because he died yesterday. Belly up, belly, food, past sell by date. You get on the labels when somebody is dead, they're past their sell by date. And we can go on and on. There's so many equations between food and death in a world like this, because Unfortunately, dear family, much of the consumption in this world is representative of death. Dear family, please keep an eye out for the following list of chemicals. And I'm really appealing to us to really start reading labels, really start looking at what we are using. Please keep an eye out for the following list of chemicals that are in our food and many, many products that we take for granted and use every day. Look out for benzene, okay? I mean, the list of things that benzene is in is just phenomenal. I've just named just a few things. It's in yogurt, it's in cooking oil, it's on your condoms. Those of you who are running around with your condoms and you think that you are protecting yourself from unwanted pregnancies and or sexually transmitted diseases or whatever, let me tell you something, man. There's something on that condom, okay, that could mean the end of your sex life later on down the road and possibly your entire life. Yogurt, cooking oil, condoms, and explosives. Explosives, okay? Look up benzene, beloved. B-E-N-Z-E-N-E. Propylene alcohol. That's a flammable liquid that you find in rubbing alcohol and white sugar. And again, the list is long. Okay, look out for these things because these are all harmful chemicals that you will find in everyday things that we use and that are causing us over a protracted period of time of being exposed to these things, illnesses. And you know, you have to ask yourself, why would people design everyday household items and goods and put these things in there? Formaldehyde. Anybody heard of formaldehyde? Do you know what that's used for? That's embalming fluid. But where is it found? It's found in foam, furniture, mattresses, and pillows, and many other places. But my point is that, according to one thing I read in my research, that if you get these sponge type pillows or whatever, you put your face in that nice soft pillow the first time and you sleep the whole night, what you're breathing in, because apparently this formaldehyde will continue to secrete, or I'm trying to find the right word, to leach this chemical for over 2 years. Wow. 2 years after you bought the mattress and the pillow and the foam furniture and so on and so forth, it's still pushing out the because it's carcinogen forming, it's cancer related formaldehyde. This one I can't even begin to even try and say. Chlorifluorocarbons. Chlorifluorocarbons or something like that. In short, CFCs. You've all heard of CFCs, and what that is, that's what you find in it's the gas that is in air conditioning units, and also in, behind your fridge you got those coils. That's the gas that's in those coils and in the air conditioning units. And if that leaks, that could be your death. Okay, and this again is the CFCs that they say is damaging the ozone layer, making a hole in the ozone layer, and so on and so forth. Very, very destructive thing. But again, you find it in so many elements within your home. And if you don't know about it, there's no test that you can carry out that would, these fire alarms and things that you now have in modern households. We got one here that's supposed to be able to detect carbon monoxide and so on and so forth, but I do not believe that it detects CFCs. Okay? And I mean, there was such a huge list of things I could have put here, but I just thought I'll just finish with this one, because mercury amalgam fillings. Okay, because like I was thinking about me as a whole, as a person. I have got a couple of little tiny tattoos from when I was like 12 and 13, I was put into one of these schools for bad boys. And I think I mentioned it last week to everybody when the boys are all smoking, and I said, oh, I'm never going to do that. But then before I left that place, I was smoking. Not only that, but the boys would have a needle and Indian ink in a bottle, and then they would dip the needle into the Indian ink and then jab, 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 jab into the skin till blood is coming out of your skin. But that's how you would do your self tattoos or whatever. And I did a couple of them on my, I got one here and I got another couple here when I was stupid and foolish and ignorant. But my point is that, you know, apart from those things, I'm sort of examining myself and I'm thinking, okay, what have I got going on that's false or fake in my system? And of course, you know, I'm wearing these glasses or whatever, but they're removable. I can take them off. I don't wear contact lenses or anything like that. But then, see, these fillings that we've had because we ate all of those sweets, still to do with how to eat to live. And again, next week we'll touch on this sugar reality. But because we ate all of those sweets and we didn't brush our teeth properly, and we were using fluoride laced toothpaste, which is designed to rotten your teeth, not protect your teeth, okay? And when you went to the dentist, then they start scraping your teeth, taking off the protective enamel in order to create cavities, in order to create a problem, so that in the end you have to come back, so that they have to drill in and give you these fillings. And they put these amalgam fillings in your mouth, amalgam fillings which are full of mercury, beloved. One of the most toxic substances on the planet. Now you imagine that's close to your brain. And did you know that over years, that when these fillings begin to deteriorate, they begin to leach fumes and poison up into your brain? This is real, dear family. I've had most of my amalgam fillings removed. I think I've got maybe just 2 little tiny bits left. I replaced them with either white glass fillings or gold. I've got a couple of gold ones, but I've had the bulk of what I had put in there when I was a child coming up removed. And I'll say this, I saw a documentary one time, and I remember asking a very well-known doctor about the amalgam fillings and whether I should have them removed. And what he said to me at the time was, brother, you're too extreme. You know, like, I've never heard anything like that, so just leave it alone. But because what I was telling him was that I'd seen a documentary, and in the documentary there was a woman on the documentary she had this kind of, I mean, literally, I'm not exaggerating. What I'm doing is how her body was, and she had no control. She had like a motor neuron type of disease thing where she had no control over her bodily functions, and it wasn't just her hands, the rest of the body was shaking, the head would involuntarily do stuff and whatever. And she had been going to the doctors and specialists, and they're looking at everything and nothing. They could not determine what was wrong with this woman, and she was like that for years. Okay, and then she went to the dentist, and for whatever reason it was thought, let's just remove her fillings. And when they removed her fillings, the woman became still. So I'm just saying it was evidently affecting her brain. And I was thinking about it, man, these things are so close to the brain. You know, if you've ever had a toothache, you know what I'm talking about. It's not just your jaw that you want to rip out. It's you want to take your head off and throw that away. Okay, that's how close it is to the brain. And so there's another element that's found within the mercury amalgam fillings, which is called thallium, and that's even worse than mercury, even more toxic than mercury. Okay, and so, dear family, again, you know, it's like these people have planted time bombs in us as a people, because everything that they do has a death component to it. Did you know in the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad that we follow in the nation of Islam, that we're taught that as the original people of the earth, as the original black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet earth, the God of the universe, as that people, that we had 60,000 books of mathematics. 60,000 books of mathematics. And we gave the white man one to build his world. One book. And what you've got to understand by that is that his mathematics is always flawed. He hasn't got enough knowledge, wisdom and understanding mathematically to be able to build anything that's perfect. So everything he builds, so he makes Concorde that could go from here to New York in a couple of hours, but it's destroying the ozone layer. So he makes, these cars that traverse the roads or whatever, but they are emitting CO2 emissions or whatever and carbon monoxide, and they're killing plants and they're destroying the ozone and so on and so forth. Everything has a death component built in because his mathematics is not sufficient to be able to make anything that's perfected. By the way, did you know that there are people who have invented motor cars that can drive on pure water, but that this world has suppressed that technology and you must not know about it? Do you know that the original, that the man, Mr. I can't remember what's his first name, Tesla, that he devised ways where human beings could get free energy, literally taking electricity out of the atmosphere, and there be no need to be charging people for electric and all this kind of stuff. But again, all of his blueprints and all of his things were stolen after he died or was killed, and ultimately again that technology was suppressed because family. Do you know that there was a man in the 1920s, and he's not the only one, there's been many and several after him, but do you know that there was a man in the 1920s who came up with a cure for cancer, and that man was driven out of America and ended up in Mexico? And even to this day, there's a clinic in Mexico, I believe it bears his name, where people from all around the world trek to go to see this man in order to cure their cancers. And he has a tremendous track record of curing people of cancer, while the cancer industry in the West is huge. Well, not just in the West, globally, is making money from poisoning, burning, cutting cancer, which from the 20s, there were people who came up with remedies to rid the planet of this scourge. And to this day, you see all these cancer charities and all this money that's poured into cancer, whatever. But where's the cure, family? But then you want to believe them when they say that they've come up with a V for this pandemic, and then you're running to get your jab, and then your booster, and then your booster, and then your booster, and then your booster, and another booster, and nothing that you had before is working because you have to keep doing this, but you're going to keep going, right? My God. So I put a periodical table here because, see, there's a lot of experimentation going on, dear family, and unfortunately, the masses of the people are the guinea pigs, and mostly it's us. If you remember those two French people who were having a conversation that were recorded, and they were talking about Africa and how they should go into Africa and do all manner of evil to the people in relation to some disease. It may have had to do with this so-called COVID-19, how they should experiment with the Africans, because we are susceptible to their wiles. Okay, I mean, come on, man. We got to stop being people's guinea pigs, beloved. So, as we approach the end of our session this evening, See, we cannot begin to list the whole litany of things that we use or consume daily that make us sick and is killing us slowly. Again, a lot of black people are reluctant to believe that hundreds of thousands of human beings are being killed on our planet as we speak, because you can't see people just dropping dead all around you, so you think nothing is happening. Look, man, every single day people are chronically ill for years based on the foods that they're consuming. And you know, TV shows like Master Chef and The Great Bake Off, and they're all designed to make us trust and believe in the food scientists of this world. And they'll cook pork and make it look pretty, and they'll put all of these strange concoctions, you know, and they'll eat the oyster and the scallops, and these are all kind of like mollusk. They're snails. They're just nasty, huh? Yeah, scavengers and filthy things. But the enemy makes it look pretty, man. He makes it look tasty. He makes it look so attractive. And, you know, instead of being led by our brain, we are led by our appetite. And, you know, brothers and sisters, nothing below the head should ever run the head. Okay? There's a reason why the head is at the highest point. It's supposed to be the leader, man. This is your central intelligence. This is your temple. Did you know that this is where God lives? And do you know, dear family, that the more we contaminate this place, whether we're smoking, we're taking coke, we're doing all manner of drugs, we're drinking alcohol, do you know that God leaves? But do you know that nature abhors a vacuum? And so if he leaves, somebody else takes up residence, and his name is Satan. I mean, we're not talking some just metaphorical stuff here, man. This is real. This is when you see yourself behaving in particular ways that are just unconscionable, where you become like a Boris Johnson, a blatant liar. And look at Parliament, beloved, where you're not allowed to say that the man has misled the House. You're not allowed to say that the man lied. Well, what kind of a place is that? If a man is clearly lying, and the leader of the Scottish National Party gets up and says the Prime Minister misled the House and the Prime Minister lied, then he gets dashed out of the House because he won't withdraw the remark. What kind of a world is this, dear family, where blatant liars are basically running things? That's the people in the office. And we think that that is somehow acceptable. And then we want to trust people like that to take care of us, to feed us, to clothe us. No, beloved family. So, in preparing for next week, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad states, there is no way for us to learn the right way to eat in order to live a long life except through the guidance and teachings of Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. The writing next to the messenger says, we cannot compete in business unless we unite and get some of this earth so that we can produce our own people's needs. Okay, this is really important as we go forward as a people. The messenger of Allah, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, said over and over and over again, we've got to have some of this land that we can call our own. This is really, really important, beloved family. And so finally, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad continues. He says, the Bible says that he will give us more life abundantly, but he demands strict obedience to his will. There is no way of prolonging the life of human beings or any other life unless it begins with restrictions of the foods which sustain life, the right kinds of food and the proper time when it should be taken into our bodies. This is what we're going to be focusing on next week. What to eat, when to eat, how to eat to live. He continues, Allah has taught me how to eat in order to live. I have been teaching it to my followers, but we often become negligent and fall victim to our own negligence. As a result, we call the doctor or go to the hospital because we did not eat the right foods or in the proper way. And so, beloved family, next week we will continue with how to eat to live, and that will be our final session on that next week. And then we will talk a little bit about Savior's Day. All right, family, Savior's Day, which is coming up on February the 27th, when hopefully, inshallah, we will hear from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So let's just take in our little adverts, and then we'll be back after that, and then we'll close out. And don't forget, I'm going to play the next one. At Westside Young Leaders Academy, WYLA, we are all about building the future leaders of tomorrow. WYLA is a provider of special classes, programs, projects, and opportunities designed to bring the inherent genius out of our young African Caribbeans. The goals of WYLA are to instill the tenets of success in our young leaders at an early age, creating an awareness and understanding of the opportunities that exist. The Academy provides consistent motivation to encourage participants to stay focused and to pursue those opportunities with passion. Get in touch now or visit wyla.com. WYLA, building the future leaders. Okay, family. We've had visitors today from Flint, Michigan, from Suriname. Thank you, thank you, thank you, family, for being with us again this evening on the Imagination Show. Also from Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States of America, New Jersey, Las Vegas. Wow, love it. I absolutely love to see and hear that my family is tuning in from all over the United States of America. Also, dear family, you can visit the londonstudygroup.org in order to get the How to Eat to Live books, and also in the USA you can visit finalcallstore.noi.org. Okay, so that's finalcallstore.noi.org if you would like to pick up your own copy of How to Eat to Live. All right, family, and at this point now, I want to really go back to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and just he will play us out for the evening. I want to thank all of you once again for tuning in. Thank you for allowing me these moments to share with you, and I pray that something that was said is of benefit to you and your family and those that you love, and I pray that you, like me, will strive hard to change our consumption habits and to really be more diligent in our life and taking care of our lives so that we can fulfill that promise that God has made to us of life and life more abundantly. Thank you once again. May the Creator bless you as I greet you, as I found you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
The last thing I want to talk about tonight. What time is it, brother? 9:20. Oh, yeah, this is the last thing. The messenger taught us not to eat any beans except the small navy bean. And when you learn how to use that navy bean, you should take a little money and go and stock your house with 100 pounds of these little navy beans. If you can afford a couple of 100 pounds, they can stay a long time. They don't mess up. That navy bean is full of protein, the right amount of fat and starch. And the messenger said, if you strain it well without a lot of spices, you feed that to your babies. And your babies will grow to live for 240 years with just being that navy bean. I close by saying this, brothers and sisters.
I think Leon Thomas is asking a question. How does he get the recording? You can visit the Nation of Islam London Study Group on our YouTube channel, Nation of Islam London Study Group on our YouTube channel, and you'll be able to view the recordings all there, all of the past Imagination shows as well. So I hope that helps, Brother Leon. Take care. The minister shall continue.
Sisters, if you doubt that God came to give us abundant life, I'd like you to look at the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad who are trying to follow him and compare us with people all over the world who follow Moses, Prophet Muhammad, Jesus, Buddha. We look different than all the followers of any prophet who ever lived. Not only different, we look better.
Yes, sir.
Why? Because we've been taught wrong. We've been taught how to eat, to live. Brothers and sisters, I want you to get this book. Ask for it. It's here. We have book 1 and book 2. These books will teach you what foods to eat, what fish to eat. And today we've got to be so careful of the fish. So careful. You got to be so careful of anything you eat today. Huh? You notice how the president is reacting? Because the Europeans said they're going to ban this hormone meat. The Europeans don't want it because it is bad for the health of those who eat it. They are so profit conscious, they feed the steer hormones to grow it fast, you see, against the law of nature. And then you eat that kind of meat. And I tell you, dear sisters and brothers, the less you go into any place called McDonald's, Wendy's, Church's Fried, Popeyes, Burger King, fast foods are giving you a fast ticket to the grave. They had a special on how fast foods are actually killing the people. If you would decide, let's eat once a day. Sisters, look, and brothers, just make up your mind. Just say, I'm going to try it. If you're 16 years of age, you can handle it. 1 meal a day. You're not going to die. You're not going to lose energy. You'll have more energy. It's true. But even if you work construction, 1 meal. But the 1 meal you eat, it should be a good one. You follow me? Don't say you're going to eat 1 meal a day, then eat junk. If you're going to eat 1 meal a day, then you got to eat right, or it'll hurt you. Do you follow what I'm saying? That meal should be eaten between 4 and 6. And if you eat between 4 and 6 tonight, don't eat tomorrow between 9 and 10. Regulate your time of eating. Every day, like clockwork, you should eat at the same time. This is the way to get good health. Huh? Once a day. And when you do it, the first 30 days, you'll start dropping the weight. You that are eating 3 meals a day and are a little overweight, you'll start dropping the weight. Don't get worried. Because what happens is, once your system gets used to the 1 meal, you'll start picking up the weight again. Then you got to do something else. Yes, sir. Now, what is that something else? See, now you don't believe this is true. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, if you eat once a day. You'll get sick once a year, at the most. You don't need no doctors, brother. You don't need prescriptions. You can close down your medicine cabinet once you start eating right. Now, if you don't want to get sick at all, ever, he said start eating every other day. But don't do that until you master once a day. Now, those of you who are overweight, don't start on no every other day. Start one meal a day and get your discipline. That's all it is you, sisters and brothers, you're frustrated and some problems are bothering you, and you just eat. Stop it. You got to find other ways to work off your frustration, but eating is killing you, so stop it. Okay? Once a day. Now, you do that for 30 days. And for the next 4 Wednesdays, we're going to deal with how to eat to live. Give yourself 30 days, and in 30 days, get on the scale and look in the mirror. Take a picture of you now, and then take a picture 30 days from now and look at the difference between the two people. All it is how to eat to live. Those of you who have mastered once a day, try every other. If you see yourself putting on weight, you know, a better way to keep from getting sick is once a month. Eat 1 meal a day, and once a month fast for 3 days. Any residue of poisons building up, if you eat once a day and fast for 3 days, once a month, you knock it all out of your system. And the more you take poisons out of your system, the better chance you have of surviving in a world of death. How many of you are trying it now? Seriously? Would you raise your hands again? How many are trying it? I saw a sister up there at the balcony. She didn't raise her hand. She's being very truthful. Try it, sister. You'll love it. Now, those of you who are just coming today for your first time, I want you to get the book and try it. You cannot lose by trying something. You've taken the wrong directions, and look at where it got you. So now a new teacher has come and said, hey, go this way. You ain't got nothing to lose. Try it for 30 days. Now I see some sisters here that are exceedingly beautiful, just a little bit overweight, but very beautiful. Now if you control that weight, watch how beautiful you become. And I want to tell you, sisters, beauty is not in age. Don't think because you get 40 or 50 you get ugly. When you start getting ugly is when you start putting on excessive weight. You keep your weight down and you look good from the time you are young to the time you die. You'll be all right. Keep fat off of you and you'll keep health on you. How many of you are in a hurry to die? How many of you have ever taken the time to go to a funeral parlor and check out dead people? That's a serious thing, brother. I mean, I've been in that embalming room, man. That's a serious setting there. And you know when you're gone, I mean, it's long. It's long, brother. You know what forever is? You ain't never seen nobody come back, have you? Come on. Nobody has ever come. I know they told you Jesus came back, right? You got to understand all of that. So if nobody has come back to tell you how sweet it is on the other side, and nature makes you want to stay here as long as you can, then why not try to stay as long as you can by changing the way you eat and live and try to stay as long as you can. I think you should. And you young men, I'm telling you, brothers, you will be around here handsome and strong for a long time if you learn how to eat to live. Did you see Sugar Ray Leonard fight that white boy? I did. That white boy thought he was going to beat Sugar Ray to death, man. But they said the sugar has not abused his body. So at 32, the sugar was like somebody 24. And he whooped that big white boy. I mean, did he whoop him? He whooped him like he stole something. Did he stole Sugar Ray's 2 championship belts? Well, your strength as a man will be right there with you, brother. Right as you get into what they call old age, you'll be right at the peak of strength if you start now eating to live. Thank you for a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
And I'm expecting Brother Wali and Brother Abdullah to teach you the science of this in the next 4 weeks. Now, this is a class, so come out and take notes and then go home and practice. Now, sisters, if you don't know how to cook that bean soup, they got recipes here. They'll lay them recipes on you and help you to cook that bean soup. And you start with that bean soup and just that bean soup, whole wheat bread, and fresh, wholesome milk. You'll be around here a long time. You know, barring any unforeseen accident. I just want to be here, you know, to see your children, your children's children, and your children's 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 children. I'd like to hang out with y'all, you know what I mean? Because I think if I can live longer, I'll get wiser. And all these young ones, I keep pouring the wisdom on them, then you just go on and retreat. You understand? And then let the young ones start building and taking the nation, and then you just go on, and when you say, oh, I've seen this before so many times. People grow, they fall in love, they get married, they have babies, they struggle for education, they master themselves, they go on to do great things. Oh, I've seen this before. I'm tired now. Well, I'll eat 3 meals a day. And check on out of here. May Allah bless each and every one of us to live a longer, better, more fruitful life by following the guidance of Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad through his servant, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Thank you for listening. I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam alaikum, beloved family. Take care. See you all next week, same time, same place. Inshallah.